I gifted my brother a luxury car for his wedding. He looked at it and scoffed. Oh, not exactly what I had in mind. My parents nodded. At least he tried. I said nothing. But the next morning, when he stepped outside, his dream car had been upgraded to something he'd never forget. Hey, read it? Long-time lurker, first-time poster. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I'm Adam, 32, and I work as a project manager in construction. It's a solid job, long shifts, exhausting pressure, but it pays well. Well enough that I don't have to think twice before covering the bill when we go out as a family. Well enough that when my younger brother, Jake, 28, needed help with anything, my parents automatically assumed I'd step up. See, Jake is the golden child. Not because he's particularly talented, hardworking, or accomplished. No, Jake is the golden child for one reason: he's the youngest. And in my parents' eyes, that means he's automatically more deserving of everything. Growing up, I watched him get away with things that would have had me grounded for a month. If I wanted something, I had to earn it. If he wanted something, he just had to whine loud enough. My parents' favorite phrase? Come on, Adam, he's your little brother. Just help him out. And like a fool, I did. Which is exactly how I ended up buying him a brand new luxury car as a wedding gift last weekend. And exactly how I ended up regretting it. The gift that wasn't good enough. The moment I handed him the keys, his face dropped. Oh. He ran a hand along the sleek black paint, his lips twisting like he had just bitten into something sour. Not exactly what I had in mind. I blinked. What? Jake let out a small chuckle, like he was trying to play it off, but I knew that look. It was the same one he used to get as a kid when he got a Christmas present that wasn't on his very specific wish list. I mean, it's nice, he said, tilting his head, but, I kinda wanted something a little more sporty. My parents, standing beside him, exchanged a knowing look before my mom sighed and said, well, at least he tried. At least I tried. Like I had just handed him a gift card to a gas station instead of a brand new car. My dad clapped Jake on the back. Don't worry, son. Maybe one day you'll get the car you really want. I stood there, gripping the keys in my pocket, feeling something deep inside me settle. I knew this moment was coming, because Jake had been showing me for weeks what he actually wanted. Flashback, the dream car wish list. 2 months before the wedding, Jake and I were grabbing burgers when he pulled out his phone and shoved it in my face. Bro, look at this, he said, scrolling through photos. Tell me this isn't the coolest thing you've ever seen. It was a Porsche 911 Turbo S. A $230,000 car. I snorted. Yeah, it's nice. If you have $250,000 lying around. Jake grinned. Or an older brother who loves me enough to make it happen. I laughed because I thought he was joking. A week later, he did it again, this time with a Ferrari F8 Tributo. Then a McLaren 720S. Each one more ridiculous than the last. At some point, I told him, dude, I'm getting you a car, not funding an F1 team. He pouted. Come on, you can afford it. You've always been the responsible one. It's not like you have kids or a wife to spend money on. I should have known then. I should have seen it coming. Back to the wedding. And now, here we were. Jake staring at the car I had bought with my own money, looking like I had just insulted him. I forced a smile. Well, you're welcome. Jake ran a hand through his hair and let out a dramatic sigh. No, it's fine. I guess I can make this work. You guess? Before I could say anything, my mom placed a hand on my arm. Adam, sweetie, don't take it personally. Jake's always dreamed of a sports car, you know that. I exhaled through my nose. Right. My bad for not getting the memo. Jake clapped me on the shoulder, still smirking. Well, hey, thanks anyway, bro. Maybe next time. Next time. I said nothing. But the next morning, when Jake stepped outside, his dream car had been upgraded to something he'd never forget. So, let's talk about why this moment at the wedding wasn't surprising. My brother, Jake, had never worked for anything in his life. And I don't mean that in a dramatic, he had it easier kind of way. I mean he literally never had a job. Our parents weren't rich. Far from it. We grew up in a tiny rented house, where bills were always paid just in time and dinner was whatever was on sale at the grocery store that week. My dad worked 2 jobs, plumbing during the day, janitorial shifts at night, while my mom did bookkeeping for a local office. They worked tirelessly just to keep us afloat. I saw that struggle, and I promised myself that I'd never live paycheck to paycheck like they did. So I studied my ass off. I worked part-time in high school, took out student loans, and clawed my way into a solid career. By my mid-20s, I was making 6 figures as a construction project manager, A job that didn't come easy, but paid well enough that I could live comfortably. Jake, on the other hand? Jake decided early that he wasn't built for hard work. Why should I work when I can just have nice things? At first, my parents made excuses for him. He's still figuring things out. He just needs time. Not everyone wants to work themselves to death like you, Adam. But time passed, and Jake never figured things out. By 28, he still didn't have a real job. Instead, Jake had a different strategy for getting money. He'd take out payday loans and max out credit cards to buy the latest gadgets, designer clothes, or concert tickets. He complained to my parents about how unfair life was, and they'd scrape together whatever they could to bail him out. When that failed, he came to me. I was stupid enough to help him for years. When he needed rent money, I covered it. When he wanted a new gaming setup, I loaned him the money, which, of course, he never repaid. When his car broke down, I paid for repairs. Meanwhile, he refused to take any job that wasn't a management position. I'm not going to waste my time flipping burgers, he'd say, like he was above that. I have standards. What he meant was, he didn't want to start at the bottom. He thought he deserved to walk into a company and immediately be the boss. And guess what? That never happened. The moment I should have cut him off. One time, he called me panicking because he was late on his car payment. Jake, dude, they're going to repossess my car. I just need $500 to cover it this month. Me, I already helped you with rent. What happened to your money? Jake, scoffing, bro, come on. I had to upgrade my phone. My old one was, like, 2 years old. 2 years old. The dude was facing repossession, but couldn't live without the latest iPhone. And yet, when I tried to push him to get a job, ugh, Adam, I'm not going to work some garbage job just to make ends meet. I have a reputation. A reputation. I should have cut him off then. I should have told him no a long time ago. But every time I tried, my parents would guilt me. You know Jake isn't like you, Adam. He's sensitive. He just needs support until he finds his way. You make more than enough. What's a few $100s? So I kept helping. And Jake kept taking. Why the car gift was my final mistake. By the time his wedding rolled around, I had already poured thousands into keeping his life from falling apart. So I thought, one last gift. One last thing to get him on the right track. A brand new luxury car, something practical but expensive enough to be a proper wedding present. A way to say, this is it. I'm done supporting you after this. Instead, he scoffed at it. And that's when everything became clear. Jake wasn't just ungrateful. He expected me to keep supporting him forever. And that's why, the next morning, when he stepped outside, his dream car had been upgraded to something he'd never forget. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was mad, oh no. Because I was excited. The moment Jake and my parents dismissed the luxury car I had gifted him, something clicked in my head. Years of entitlement, guilt-tripping, and manipulation finally reached their boiling point. It was time to teach Jake a lesson. The setup. I made a few calls that night. Money talks, and thankfully, I knew the right people who could get things done fast. By 8 a.m., a flatbed truck was parked in my driveway, unloading something special in front of Jake's house. By 8:30 a.m., I had a massive custom-made cloth cover draped over the car, completely hiding it. By 9 a.m., a small crowd of neighbors had already gathered, whispering, taking photos, and waiting to see what was under the cloth. And by 9:15 a.m., Jake finally strolled outside, still stretching and rubbing his eyes, completely unaware of what was about to happen. The big reveal. Jake blinked at the crowd of neighbors gathered outside his house, all eyes on him. He glanced at the covered car, confusion flashing across his face. I stepped forward, smiling like I was the best brother in the world. Morning. Bro thought I'd make things right. Jake frowned. What? I patted the cloth. You were kinda disappointed with my gift yesterday, so I upgraded it. His whole face lit up. Wait, for real? He turned to my parents, who had just stepped outside. Did you know about this? My mom, looking relieved that I had apparently seen the error of my ways, clasped her hands together. Oh, Adam, that's so generous of you. Jake beamed, stepping closer, soaking up the attention as neighbors pulled out their phones, some even streaming the moment live. I made a dramatic pause. Then I grabbed the edge of the cloth and ripped it away. The dream car reveal. Jake's entire body stiffened. The crowd went dead silent. My mother gasped. Because under that dramatic, expensive-looking cloth was not the sleek, powerful sports car Jake had probably been fantasizing about all night. It was a 1996 rusted-out Toyota Corolla. A literal junkyard car. The front bumper was hanging off. The driver's side door was missing a handle. The tires were 3 different brands. The hood had been spray-painted neon pink with the words, "For the Golden Boy," in giant cursive letters. And the best part? The license plate. It was a custom plate that read, "Broke." The moment of silence after the reveal was almost better than the reveal itself. Then, someone in the crowd, probably one of Jake's fool friends, burst out laughing. And just like that, the dam broke. Phones went up. Cameras flashed. The whole neighborhood lost their minds. Some guy was straight up crying from laughter. One of our neighbors, Mrs. Johnson, an 80-year-old woman who hated drama, pulled out her phone and whispered, "Oh, I gotta record this." Someone on the other side of the street shouted, "Yo, is this a prank show?" Jake's face turned a shade of red I didn't even know was possible. "What is this?" he shrieked, pointing at the car. I leaned against the hood, smirking. "Your new ride. Hope it's sporty enough for you." Jake loses it. Jake turned to my parents, panicking. "Mom, Dad, say something." My mom's mouth was opening and closing like a fish. My dad just looked deeply, deeply uncomfortable. Jake whipped back to me. "This is a joke, right? Tell me this is a joke." I crossed my arms. "A joke? No, Jake. I just figured, since the first car I got you wasn't good enough, maybe this would be more your speed." "Are you insane?" Jake was flailing his arms now. "You think this is funny?" I shrugged. "Dude, you said you wanted a different car. You never said what kind. So, technically, I did exactly what you asked." Jake kicked the Corolla's front tire. The hubcap fell off and rolled away. The crowd exploded into laughter. The family meltdown. "Adam." My mom finally snapped out of it. She marched over to me, lowering her voice like she was scolding a child. "What is wrong with you? How could you embarrass your brother like this?" I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, so now it's embarrassing? But when he trashed my actual gift, that was fine?" "He was just surprised," she hissed. "No," I said, my voice calm but firm. "He was ungrateful. And I'm done with it." Jake was visibly shaking with rage now. "You owe me a real car, Adam," he screeched. I just smiled. "No, Jake. I don't owe you a thing." The final goodbye. Jake tried to storm past me, but I blocked him. "By the way," I said, my voice dropping, "I want my original car back." "The luxury sedan?" "Yeah, I'll be taking that now." His head snapped up. "What?" "No. It was a gift." I smirked. No. You said it wasn't what you wanted. So I'm returning it. Consider this one your replacement." Jake looked at our parents, desperate. My dad sighed and muttered, "Jake, just give him the car back." Jake made a strangled noise, like a dying cat. I held out my hand. "Keys." After what felt like an eternity, he ripped them out of his pocket and slammed them into my palm. I jingled them in my fingers. "Pleasure doing business with you, bro." And with that, I hopped into the luxury car and drove away, as Jake stood in the middle of the street, red-faced, screaming at a neon-pink Toyota Corolla with "Broke" plates. It was, hands down, the best drive of my life. I wasn't expecting peace after that. I knew the moment I drove off, my phone would explode with calls, texts, and voice messages from my parents, from Jake, maybe even from random extended family members who somehow always got dragged into our family drama. But you know what I did? I turned off my phone, cranked up the music, and enjoyed my drive. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't feeling guilty. I wasn't feeling like a walking wallet. I was feeling free. The aftermath at home. I pulled into my driveway, parked the perfectly good luxury car that Jake had thrown a tantrum over, and walked inside like nothing had happened. I had barely kicked off my shoes when my phone, still off, started vibrating on the counter. Guess who? Mom. I sighed, flipped the phone over, and let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. And again. I knew my parents well enough to know exactly how this was playing out. Back at my parents' house, aka Jake's meltdown headquarters. I can picture it perfectly. Jake, red-faced, pacing the living room like a lunatic, screaming about how I ruined his life. Mom, clutching her chest like she's about to faint, gasping about how could Adam do this to his own brother. Dad, sitting in his chair, rubbing his temples, already mentally checked out but too scared of Mom to say anything useful. And somewhere outside, a group of neighbors still standing around Jake's new dream car, taking pictures, posting it on Facebook, and turning him into the local legend of embarrassment. I knew every second they weren't getting a response from me was fueling the fire. And I didn't care. I let them stew in it for a full 3 hours before I finally turned my phone back on. And, surprise, surprise, 27 missed calls, 15 voicemails, Over 50 texts. Most of them were from Jake and my mom, but my favorite one? A simple text from my dad. You need to call your mother. Immediately. Nah. The family meeting. Around 7 p.m., I finally caved, not because I felt bad, but because I was curious how far they'd take this. So, I called Mom. She answered before the first ring even finished. Adam, she shrieked. How could you do this to your brother? I took a deep breath. Do what, exactly? You humiliated him, she wailed. No, I said, Jake humiliated himself. She paused, probably trying to keep herself from passing out. You need to fix this. You need to get him another car. I laughed. Like, genuinely laughed. Are you serious, Mom? Of course I'm serious, she snapped. Jake has no way to get to work now. That made me pause. Then I grinned. Work? I asked slowly. What work? Silence. A long, painful silence. Then, finally, she muttered, well, you know, when he finds something. I lost it. Oh, so we're back to future jobs now? Got it. So what you're really saying is, he still doesn't have a job, and I should just hand him another car because... Why, exactly? Because he's your brother. No, Mom. He's your problem. The golden boys fall from grace. After 5 more minutes of her trying and failing to guilt me, she realized I wasn't budging. And then she hit me with the classic. Fine. But don't come crying to us when you need help one day. I snorted. Mom, when have I ever needed help from you? Silence. Again. Then, you are so ungrateful, Adam. And she hung up. I stared at my phone. Ungrateful. That was the word she used. After years of bailing them out. After years of financing Jake's lifestyle. After paying off credit card debt, car repairs, rent, and literally handing him a luxury car. I was the ungrateful one. I just shook my head and went to make dinner. Jake's pathetic attempt at a comeback. I figured that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Around 10 p.m., just as I was about to call it a night, I heard a loud knock at my front door. Guess who? Jake. Still wearing his stupid wedding tuxedo, looking like a man who had just lost everything. I opened the door, leaning against the frame. Well, if it isn't the man of the hour. Jake didn't even wait. He stormed inside, jabbing a finger at my chest. You think this is funny? He barked. Yeah, actually, I said, grinning. His face turned purple. I look like a joke, Adam, he yelled. People are posting videos of me. Even Grandma saw it. I shrugged. Maybe next time, you'll say thank you when someone gives you a car. Jake lost it. You owe me. I cut him off. Stop. Right there. I took a step closer, staring him dead in the eyes. I don't owe you anything anymore. Ever. No more money. No more loans. No more handouts. You are on your own now, Jake. For the first time, he actually looked scared. But Mom and Dad, they can help you, I said. Oh wait, I leaned in. They're broke too. His mouth opened and closed, but nothing came out. I stepped back and gestured to the door. Unless you came here to thank me for years of free money and opportunities, you can leave. Jake just stood there, fist clenched, breathing hard. Then, finally, he turned around, stormed out, and slammed the door behind him. I locked it, smiled to myself, and went to bed. Best sleep of my life. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter than I had in years. No more bailing out the golden boy. No more being the family ATM. No more guilt-tripping, manipulations, or entitled demands. I was finally free. Or so I thought. Because by noon, my parents showed up at my house. The last attempt at manipulation. I opened the door to see Mom and Dad standing there, arms crossed, looking exhausted. Mom went first. We need to talk. I leaned against the doorframe. We really don't. Dad sighed. Son, let's just be reasonable. Jake is a grown-ass man who can figure out his own problems. I cut in. Dad pressed his lips into a thin line. Mom, however, had zero shame. Adam, you humiliated your brother. You need to fix this. I laughed. Mom, I didn't humiliate him. I gave him a free car, and he acted like a spoiled brat. That thing was not a car, she snapped. Oh, so now you're judging gifts? I said. Funny, you didn't say that when Jake was trashing my actual present. Mom took a deep breath, her voice softening. Adam, honey, families stick together. You've always helped Jake before. I held up a hand. No more family should help each other's speeches. Because let's be real, this family has never helped me. It's always been one-sided. I give, and Jake takes. And you too? You let it happen. Silence. For the first time, my mom didn't have a response. My dad rubbed his temples like this whole thing was just giving him a headache. Look, he muttered, can we at least agree that things got out of hand? Maybe we all overreacted. I smiled. Yeah, I agree. You guys absolutely overreacted when you let Jake act like a prince his whole life and expected me to foot the bill. My dad groaned. Mom clenched her jaw, then went for her final weapon. Fine, she said coldly. But don't expect us to come running when you need us one day. I stared at her for a long moment. Then, I laughed. Mom, when have I ever needed you? That shut her up. Dad exhaled loudly and grabbed her arm. Let's go, he muttered. They left without another word. For the first time ever, I didn't feel like I had lost something. I felt like I had finally won. The Golden Boys knew reality. I expected radio silence from Jake after that. Instead, over the next few weeks, I started hearing whispers through extended family and mutual friends. Apparently, his life was falling apart. He tried selling the Corolla, but no one wanted a neon pink junker with "Embroke" on the plates. He couldn't get a job. Turns out, no one hires guys who think manager is an entry-level position. My parents couldn't afford to help him anymore because, shocker, they had their own bills to pay. For the first time ever, Jake had to fend for himself. And he sucked at it. He called me once, about a month later. Not to apologize. Not to admit he was wrong. But to ask for a small loan to help him get back on his feet. I didn't even hesitate. I just laughed and hung up. The real closure. I wish I could tell you Jake changed after that. That he learned responsibility. That he got a job. That he finally grew the hell up. But nah. Last I heard, he was still jumping from one get-rich-quick scheme to another. Still living off our parents' scraps. Still blaming me for why his life sucked. And you know what? That's not my problem anymore. For the first time in my life, my money is mine. My time is mine. My future is mine. And Jake? Jake still has that Corolla.